want to thank each and every one of you for coming. Holy cow. It's all about great. I had the greatest pleasure calling some of these guys up. Not all of them, some of them pretty. I swear to God, Mickey Silverstein or Shine or however you pronounce it. I can go Bob Carlisle, some of these great guys that, you know, my dad told me about. Said, Slick, you'll never be as good as they are. I know, Dad, I'm not the best I can. But, I mean, it was just a treat for me. So I appreciate all your people's patience because I asked you a lot of questions and what have you. And it is on! What do you think, I'm dumb? Oh! I'm not scaring birds, I'm not a professional. There's a few people, or a lot of people I'd like to thank. Can you, everybody hear that? Yeah. First of all, I want to thank the KC for giving up their place of business to open it up for us tonight. Cheryl and the whole crew have been terrific for us, and give them a big round of applause. Don't be that tight dirt and stuff, okay? Yeah. Second of all, I want to thank my little committee that we put together. Kevin Manley, my running mate at Guard 72. Greg Ashley. Where you at, Greg? Come on away, Greg. Come on, don't be shy. If you got any memorabilia, he's basically the curator for the museum over here for the sports, so give it to him. He'd love that stuff. Rick Bagley, back in the back there getting hammered. Where's Rick Burner at? Put your hand up, Rick. I know you're here. There you are. Thank you, Rick. Rick helped me out with that older generation, I'll call it. But it's been a great time. I've really enjoyed that. Got a little short program here. A couple guys going to speak about their experiences playing for the Cats, what it meant to them, hopefully, and I think you know how I feel. It was the greatest time of my life, except for the time I met my wife, of course. Gotta say that. My first speaker tonight. Well, if you're going to have a poster boy, man, of Jasper High School basketball, this person's it. I've heard about him since I was 3. Wow. Indiana All-Star, Hall of Famer, championship ring on his finger. You wear it tonight, Bob? Come on, Bob! Give it up for fellow alumni from Vanderbilt, Mr. Bob Rice.
I am so absolutely humbled to be able to say anything, and particularly to say much that you would enjoy. I won't say much. But to win the Indiana State Championship is absolutely unbelievable how it helps you in later years. As I went through, hell, I think I moved 10 times with Ford. Everywhere I would go around the country, somebody would be working there who would tell the boss, hey, that guy was on a championship team in Indiana. And that would end up helping you get the next position, believe it or not. So, those things, and then to come here tonight and see people who were a year, 2, 3 ahead of me, who I was able to copy from. I told Mick Silverstein tonight, I can remember clearly him when the guards would cross, instead of handing the ball off to the other guard, he'd throw it behind his ear to the center and he'd cut around him for a shot. Well, I copied that, and pardon me, but I copied a whole hell of a lot from these guys. And I was telling Mick about it, because I cannot believe that you would remember that. But then I remembered a teammate at center was Tim Steptonogle. Well, I would throw it behind my ear to Dim and cut across, and instead of him handing the ball off, and the defense then would relax, because that's what they expected, he'd wait till I got closer to the basket, and then he'd give it this back to his ear. So I'm leading into there. What a magnificent group of guys I played for, I played with, and a coach that I played for. Now, I have had in my pocket many stories about Cabby O'Neill, many of which you've heard. But I knew he was so sneaky. I knew that he would be listening. I did not know that he would go so far as to send his daughter here to let him know what the hell happened. But anyway, I'm a little bit restrained here, but I thought you should know one thing. I'm sick and tired of hearing about Cabby leaving his wife in Washington. Now, he is not to blame. She only had a one-way ticket. And then I'm remembered in the 1940s, absolutely you will not believe this if you hadn't heard it before, 8 players from the era of the 40s, you thought that wasn't a great era, 8 players made it to the Hall of Fame. One of them's here tonight, Bob Sacco. Where's Bob?
He just left.
Oh. No, he thought he was going to have to speak too. Okay, 8 players, 3 were named Hoffman. And I was telling George tonight, I don't know what the hell happened to Andy and George and John and some of the others. All along I thought they were too cheap to pay the admission fee. But then I thought of something. I said, there's no damn way they got the admission fee out of Cabby O'Neill, so that can't be the answer. So I didn't have to change my name to Hoffman after all. But it's such a thrill to be here, to see all the great players, and to think you're up here speaking and you wonder why, because you played on a championship team. That's why I'm here, because I had such great teammates. You're getting in the Hall of Fame. I tell you what, you get in the Hall of Fame when you win a state championship. I can name you player after player after player who, in my opinion, was a hell of a lot better than I was. That played in Jasper. I'm thinking of the names of Donnie Bates and the Geekers and the Murrs and the Service Signs. I could go on and on and on. I know I left you out. This guy, you can't count on him. I'll tell you what. He promised me he'd have the roster for tonight out by the 26th. It didn't come, so appropriately, I sent him an email, a late announcement, and gave him a late fee. And you kept out on it. The late fee was a free wine if Cabby wasn't here watching. And then I didn't know he was going to send Mag. And on top of that, he didn't know Mag was here, and he still didn't take the damn wine. So, anyway, I will take any questions you want people to answer.
Anybody got anything for Mr. White?
I thought so. Thank you very, very much for allowing me.
Quick story about Mr. White. I emailed Mr. White and told him what we were doing. And he called me back and left a message on my phone and said, because I didn't recognize his phone number, and I thought it was one of those 999 numbers, but anyway, and he said, you know, please call Bob White at your convenience. And I went, okay. Wow, I get to talk to Bob White. Wow, you know, that's pretty cool. So I called Mr. White, and I said, Mr. White, this is Slick Weber calling from Jasper, Indiana. How you doing tonight? And it was a Tuesday night about 7 o'clock. He goes, Slick, you know, he, as you can see, he kind of measures his words, and he goes, I'm sitting here on my couch at the same playing weight that I was in high school. And I said, that makes 2 of us. Not a true story. But I thought it. That's a great line, but I didn't use it. But anyway, it's going to be a class, represents Jasper, Indiana, like no other man probably ever has. Probably Jerry Burns, but I agree with that. I mean, because you know everybody. But anyway, just a treat to talk to him and what have you. Before I go any further, and I meant to do this earlier, if we could have a moment of silence. For those people, the ex-Wildcats that are not here, the ex-coaches, my old buddy Ed, I love Mr. Yarbrough, he was a tennis coach of mine, basketball coach, what have you. So if you can take 5 seconds out of your time and just, you know, some of them left us too early. I just want them to know that Tabby got those guys up there talking to them. So I want them to know we're thinking of them. Thank you very much. My next speaker for tonight, or our next speaker that we have the pleasure of listening to, and if you don't have a chair, you might want to sit down, because this might take a while. Played on the 56 and 57 Wildcats, back-to-back 70-state participants. Went to the final game 57, just once. Like it's, come on, here. Yeah. But anyway, and he wrote keeping score, how many years, Gary? 2 many. According to the parents in this town, probably too many, yeah. But anyway, give it up for Mr. Jerry Burge.
Sit down. Okay.
2-minute warning.
I can't tell you what a wonderful night this is for me. I look around and I see all these faces, a lot of teammates, people I played with, and then people I covered while working at Wits or at the Daily Herald, and some of you older guys that when I was a little kid I saw you play, and got to be a big Jasper fan. When Slick called me, I kind of knew, I had a hunch that a lot of this would be wrapped around Cabby O'Neill. No question about that. You know, it was going to happen. And I got thinking, well, I got to tell. And they said, well, in due respect for his daughter, Bob said he wouldn't tell a lot of Cabby stories, but I'm going to tell a couple. I don't have that much respect, I guess. My first association, a lot of you guys, did you play the summer, remember the summer recreation league we used to have? And it was before Little League and all of that, and Cabby and Nip ran it, and they got all kinds of big dollars for that, I think, when they did it. And it was just a fun league. I was up there, Cabby knew my dad, because Dad was very much involved in sports, and he kind of knew who I was, and I was just a kid. I was 6, 7 years old. He called me over and he said, Jerry, I want to talk to you. And I thought, man, this is Coach O'Neill talking to me. And he says, come on, I want to take you to my house. I want to give you something. And I said, okay. So that's where you live, right across from the cemetery up there by the church. We got over there, and he had this big, ugly dog that had wandered in his yard. Here was this dog, and he kept it there, and he says, I'm going to give you a dog. And I thought, man, that is great. And he didn't have a collar, but he didn't have a leash for it. So I took off my belt, and I'm holding my pants up, and I'm holding that. Some of you know where we live, way down in the Fifth Street. I drug that dog all the way home. Mom and Dad have never been pet people. They said, where in the hell did you get that dog? And I said, Cabby gave it to me. He said, come on, we're taking it back. That's a true story. And Bob, you said everybody's heard a lot of these stories, and you started telling one about Leona when they left her behind. I got to know Cabby when I was on the board of the Hall of Fame, and Cabby and I would go to meetings all over the state, and then we'd drive. Guess who drove and paid for the gas? You know? But I'd drive all the time. Then he turned it in. He turned it in. We did that for basketball. The Herald paid for me to go. Cabby would go with us, and then he had to scout the officials, so he'd turn it into mileage and all that. That's another story. We're not even talking about how, you know, his money matters. But I asked him one night, we were driving home, and I said, Cabby, ever since I was a little kid, I heard about you leaving Leona behind. And this is a true answer because I got it right from Cabby. Cabby, back in those days, a lot of us, we did it. We didn't take buses, we drove cars. The coaches drove the cars, and we hopped in the cars. Cabby was in the car with a couple of his ball players, and he had Leona in there with him. And she's sitting up front, they get to Washington, they play the game. After the game, they get in the car, and she's not there. And they're kind of looking around. He starts up, and he takes off, and he's heading home. One of the ball players said, Coach, you left Mrs. O'Neill behind. And he went, oh, darn it. He said, she's a big girl. She can find her own way back. That was it. Now, the next day, he was at the drugstore, you know, where Poe's drugstore or whatever it was back then, up on the square, and there's a little deli in there now. He came walking in there Saturday morning, and all the, you know, the fans are in there, and the rumor had gotten around already. And Cabby walked in, and he says, Coach, that's the worst story we've ever heard on you. How can you do that, leaving Leona behind like that, you know? And he said, well, he's a big girl, you know, we didn't want to turn back and take extra gas and all this. And the legend was born, and I said, Cabby, did you really do that? And he said, of course not. She was going over there to visit family or friends, and she was going to spend the night, and as Bob said, it was a one-way ticket. But Cabby knew, and he admitted to me, he said, when they were talking about that already, talking about people like that makes legends. He actually used those words. He was no dummy. You know, he knew that would be a great story, and it lasted all these years. But I've ruined it for Cabby now, because it didn't happen. It never happened, but he nursed it. And he, you know, he agreed with it because he knew everybody was talking about him. And here we are, we're talking about him again tonight. Cabby was just a legend, and you know, that 49 team, I was in the 4th grade. I didn't go to the game. I listened to it on WITS, WITZ. Had the low power, Denny, you've heard that story, you know. It was just a, yeah, it was just a, you know, it was rigged up to listen to the games. I listened to it. It wasn't even on 990. It was like 1640 or something. And we listened to it, and it ended, and my dad had a pickup truck out front. He was working for Cheese Crodel then. He had a cheese and stuff. I was so excited, I ran outside by myself, got in the car, and honked the horn. I remember sitting out there, you know, because we had won the state. My dream was to go to the state, you know, when I played. My dad went to the state in the 34 team, got to the Final Four, before he got beat by Logansport in the afternoon. So I knew about that. Then I knew about the 49 team, and I thought maybe we can, you know, go back there. That's my whole dream, was to do it. And I have 2 teammates here tonight, John Huffman and Jim Eckerly. Man, we came close. We got to the final game of the semi-state. 1 game away from Butler Fieldhouse. And that was probably the biggest hurt that night when we lost that, because Bob had the thrill, and and Ed and the others that I've seen here from the 49 team, of going to the state and winning it. We didn't get to go there, we came close. But you know, all my life I was a fan of the Wildcats. I was so blessed to play for a guy named Nip Rupner. You know, I was disappointed at first that I wasn't going to get to play for Cabby, but then Nip stepped right in, and what a gentleman there. When Slick, you mentioned to remember people, I thought of Nip right away. He later became a neighbor of mine and just one of my dearest friends, and I just love that guy. And we've had some great coaches through the years. Jasper's been blessed, there's no question about that. One of them sitting right here. Who's won more sectionals after Cabby? Who's won the most sectionals in Jasper High School history? Coach Ed Schulteis. He's won more. I'll tell one Schulteis story. We're playing up at New And we had a pretty good team, but we run out of the good guards. You know, once Jimmy Wenzel was gone, and all the others were gone, and Carver was gone, and Slick was gone. And we didn't have the good guards anymore. And you were blessed. You had some of the best guards that ever played at Jasper. We were out of guards, and we got beat by New Albany at the last minute. And Bob Simmers, and I thought about him too, one of my favorites, just a great announcer that lived here, my dearest friend. But Bob and I came up to Schulteis. We used to pester him like crazy. We went up and we said, Coach, we would have won this game if we had a guard. And he said, yeah, well, he says, maybe some of the guards that were playing then are sitting here. So, he said, they just can't play. He says, and we said, you dummy, the best guard in Jasper High School is on the Kittens. Bring him up. And he went, I don't know if I can do that. I said, don't penalize him because his name is Schulteis. And it was John, I guess. Huh? Jim. It was Jim. It was Jim. Jim was a sophomore, excellent ball player. And we thought, and he looked at us and we said, look, we won't get on your case. If it doesn't work, fine. We won't criticize. And he said, okay. And I think we had a little influence on it because Jimmy came out. I played right at Honeyburg shortly after that. And he just became an outstanding guard, one of the best that ever played here. And this coach, the only coaching he ever needed, Simmers and I gave it to you. Remember that? But he really did a great job. And then he was blessed. All of his sons were outstanding ball players. And, it's just, I was so blessed to play for Jasper, cover Jasper for almost 20 years, and I love coming back to a gathering like this. I had a couple of notes here. Jim and John, you'll remember this. The 49 team won the state. 50 and 51 was Winslow. 52, there's some members of the 52 team here. They won the sectional. They finally, after we lost 2 in a row. Then 53 lost, 54 lost, 55, one of the best teams Jasper ever had, lost in the sectional. They had lost 3 in a row for the first time since back in the 20s or the 30s. It's been many years. We had pressure on us. John's dad was a basketball person. My dad was. They said, Jasper's lost 3 in a row. You've got to win this. In our junior year, we did win the sectional, regional. We were blessed. We got to play in the last semi-state at IU at the old Assembly Hall up there. And then the next year, we won it again. So we kind of covered things for NIP, because NIP had lost a few there. But we won back-to-back, and we were up there among the regional champions. And I think all of you here, how many people here played for NIP? How many played for NIP? Okay. And that 55 teams represented here. Eddie Kopp, were you the only one here? And that was, they say, the 2 best teams Jasper ever had. And this is all due respect to the 49 team. You guys lost 9 games, Bob. So you got a high attorney time, The 45 team, when I was a kid, I was always told.
That's great. You won?
4 times.
He won. Jerry, you ignorant slut.
The 45 team, Cabby always told me, the best team for the whole season was the 45 Hubba Cats. 3 of them here tonight. Jimmy Berger, I'm thrilled to see him back here. He was coach at Schulte for 4 years when my wife was at Schulte. She always admired Coach Jim Berger. And then Bob Sock was here. Where's Bob? Bob left, and Bob Siebert. That was one great ball club. Who beat him in the sectional? No, the 45. That was Bossy. Brock, Gerald, and Butter and the state champs. They won the state in 44 and 45, and they beat us each year. But the only team we lost to in 45 was the Bossy, I think.
Correct.
They beat us during the regular season, and they beat us in the semi-state in the final game. It was just a great team that beat us was Bossy. And then I ended up in Evansville, and I knew Brock and I knew Bud real well. And they'd always talk about that 45 Jasper team, one of the best teams they played. There wasn't another team in the state as good as Jasper. They told me that many times. Then 10 years later, the 55 team. John, you remember we went up to Lafayette, Jeff, at the holiday tourney? They didn't take the JVs. We were on the JVs then. I won't tell them all the story. But we caught a ride up to Lafayette. to see Jasper play in the holiday tourney. That 55 team beat Hammond with Radovich and Henry and New Albany with Henry. They were like 2 and 3 in the state. Jasper ended up either number 1 or 2 in the state after that. They went into they're number 3 in the state. They went into the sectional, and unfortunately, there were 4 teams in the top 10, I think, in the sectional that year. You young kids won't believe that. Huntingburg had a fabulous team with Buddy Blumker and those guys. Winslow had a great team. And a team from Holland. They had a guy from Tormon. They had Tormon. And I remember sitting there watching that game, and that just broke my heart when they beat us in the sectional. It was no embarrassment to lose in that. That was the most powerful sectional in the state. But the 2 best teams, 45 and 55, and 56, 57, pretty good too. Really. They weren't bad. But I apologize to anybody here that, I covered you while you were playing, and I haven't had a chance to get around to see everybody. Jimmy Wenzel, he drove me nuts. He drove the coaches nuts, drove me nuts. Bob Miller and Donnie Kress, they were teammates my junior year, and I'm going to tell one story on speed. Some of you might remember Evansville got those capes they used to wear on the bench, those ugly capes. Oh, and he had different colors. Jasper came up with the capes. Nip bought them. They were gold and shiny, and they had handles inside. Now, my junior year, we all sat on the bench. Bob, and I hate to say Bob and Donnie were on the bench too with us. They were seniors, but they were key reserves, let's put it that way. Speed would sit there, and Speed would sit there with he hated that robe. I'll never forget this. He hated that robe, and he said, "You gotta wear these things, you look ridiculous." And he saw these handles, and he said, "Watch this." He went, rip, and he ripped the handle out. He said, "Rip," and he ripped the handle out. The next game, he's sitting there, he gets another one, rip. And all of a sudden, Nip said, "I don't know what's happening to these capes, when they're falling apart." But Speed, we got rid of them. I think we didn't wear them because of Nip's being worried about them being ripped apart. But he did that, there's no question. Let's see, I had here one more thing I was trying to, and I run out, and you warned me, I couldn't talk any longer.
No more than 25 minutes.
No more, okay. One great thrill to me, and I've been away from Jasper almost 35 years now, one big thrill for me is the keeping of the high school gym, where so many of us played. Raise your hand if you played varsity games in the Jasper old gym, the county gym. Look at this. All of us played there. What a great place to play. What a fabulous place to play basketball. And next to it, and I got to mention this, is the Huntingburg gym, the big gym. We played, I think John and I figured out one time, we played our junior and senior year something like 12 to 15 games in there, counting regular season and holiday tournaments and the sectionals and regionals. We were like 15-0. We never lost on that floor. And they had some good golf clubs. We never lost on the Huntingburg gym floor. Cabby used to, our Nip would always say, "That's our second home." He called it, because it was a fun place to play. We were a fast-breaking team. John and I had so much speed, and Eck was so fast, We used to fast break a lot, and we had all the room to run over there in Huntingburg. But I can remember, Mr. Hollick here, we got together one of the early meetings when we heard they were tearing the gym down. And I came up from Owensboro, and we had a meeting. We went over to the gym, we walked around. It needed some repair, but we said, we can't let this die. And the committee got together, and we worked hard at it, and we saved what is now appropriately called the Cabby O'Neill Gym. The last time I heard anything named after Cabby, I was here, I was working out at Wits in the early 60s. They built Alumni Stadium, and we had a contest about naming the stadium. And I was collecting in there at the Herald. I was working at Whitson. We ran the contest out there, and we got the entries. One of them said, "We ought to name it the Cabby O'Neill Stadium." I said, "Well, he doesn't have anything to do with football, really, other than bringing it here. He kept it away while he was basketball coach." But this is a true story. Somebody put it in there. I had an idea who sent it. They said, "We got to name it Cabby O'Neill Stadium." He says, "Because the stadium will be used 3 months of the year, and it sits dormant the other 9. So That's a true story. I got that entry for the Caddy Stadium. But I'm so glad they named the gymnasium. How many thrills when we were little kids going in there to see, you know, Bob Sockel and Bob Siebert and them play. And, you know, and as we grew up, you know, Jasper High School gym was part of our life. There's no question about it. And I'm glad to see it's there. I hate to see them build the new one again, you know. I think the atmosphere, they're going to lose a lot when they go into the new gym. But what a thrill. It was an honor for me to play at Jasper. I found out on this good team that we had that went to the semi-state, I was like the fifth man on that team because we had All-Stater and Jody Gieser, an All-Star. Jim Eckerly, one of the best shooting players that ever played at Jasper. John Huffman, the greatest jumper. John went on to play in the SEC. You know, we just had a great team. Junishan was, now we won't get into that. He's the only one that didn't play grade school ball at Jasper. He came from Boone Township. But he's part of it. He's part of the Jays. So it's always been special play. And then I played a little bit with Jim Eckerly when we went to Indiana State. And Jim was a good ball player at State. They had me sweep the gym out, you know, but I didn't play much. But it's really a thrill for me to be here tonight. And if I miss some of you kids that played when I was covering the games, come over and say howdy because I didn't recognize all of you. Wait a minute. Tom Nicholson. I was going to talk about things about him when he played the coach. You know, I couldn't say it here because there are women present. It's a family and type thing, so we can't even say it. Can you imagine a basketball team that he had to coach that had Tom Nicholson and Kevin Kelly on the same team? That's it. On that, I say thank you so much, Slick, for having me up. Have a great time, and go Wildcats. Let's go.
I had a list, if anybody has this list, from 1940 to 1959. Does anybody see that laying around somewhere of who's going to be here tonight? Does anybody see that anywhere? Anybody? Anybody at all on the table? Did you bring the email? Can I have that? And it's amazing to me, Coach Showties, that everybody wants to take credit for your coaching genius, you know. But if that would have went wrong, they would have said, why is he pulling up Showties? He's an idiot, you know? So, yeah, there you go. Appreciate that. Before we go any further, can you hear me? Yes, thanks. Before we go any further, I'd like to introduce a few people here, especially the people from 40 and 50. I think they made a heck of an effort to be here. And like I said, a real treat for me to. So if you can, give us a wave, let everybody know where you're at, and what have you, or stand up, take a bow, what have you. From 1943. Okay? 1943. Mr. Jasper! Now, some people showed up that didn't RSVP, and that's fine. I think, Jack, you are the oldest one here. Jim Klein, where you at? I know Chuck, his father's still alive, 94, graduated in 1936. Does anybody go back further than that? Anybody? He led the team in scoring in 76 with 22 a game?
Oh, yeah, right. The team scored 22.
6.5 points. There you go. Yeah, there you go. But anyway, from the 1943, by the way, and we'll hear this a little bit later also, had Paulie Huffman on it, who was Jasper's first true Indiana All-Star. I know he didn't get to play in the game, but he was our first one. Four-time All-American at Purdue, right? Can you hear me that good, Jack? And so, Rookie of the Year in the NBA.
Hold up.
And Jack Patton was right next to him, playing hands up with him. So, hell of a ball player right back there. From 1944, Jerome Kickouts, who also has been mayor of this town. So, give it up to him. 1945. As Jerry said, probably one of the greatest teams ever played, Jasper. 24-2, lost to Balsy twice, right? Bob, Brett, all twice. Sandy State we won't talk about because they kind of blew you guys out, but that's okay. Bob Siebert's here. Bob Sockel was here. And Jim Berger is here. Came down from Indianapolis. You young guys don't know how important Jasper basketball was back in this day. East Chicago, Washington came to Jasper to play basketball, and we went to East Chicago, Washington. That's how great we were. And Anderson came down here. I mean, we're talking 1945, 46, 47. I mean, it's not like they had interstates back there. I don't even know if they had cars. I thought we were pretty good in 71. We went to Seymour for a holiday tournament. I went, boy, we're big stuff, you know. These guys went to Lafayette. They went to East Chicago. Hell, they were done. But anyway, if I missed somebody, please raise your hand, because my list is not complete because I had some late ones. 1946, George Huffman. George, give us away. There you go. 1947, another great class. Not that yours wasn't, George. I didn't mean it like that. 5 seniors starting. 1947, Jim Fritsch. Silver anniversary team member, Mickey Silvershine. Bob White could probably play a tennis game together. They're still in pretty good shape. But anyway, and I'll chase the ball. Now when he chases the ball, I'll drink a beer while you guys. I don't think anybody's here from the 48 team. Is that correct? 48? 48. 48. Did I have you wrong in the wrong year? I'm sorry, George. My bad. I told you, Kevin, you should have done this part of it. I'm sorry, George. George was 48, not 46. Okay. 1949, Bob White. And Jack Stein. Where's Jack? Did he leave? Sorry, Jack. But he had graduated in 50.
We're going by graduating class. You know. You want to run this chair?
1950, Ed Steffs. Now, where are you at, Ed? Did you leave too? Yeah. Man, you guys are getting old. 1952, I got Gil Sanger and Charlie B. Klein. Give us away. I tell you what, it was a real treat, like I said, talking to all these guys. I mean, it was like a dream come true. 1954, is Jerry Summershine here? Is it Summershine or Summershine? Jerry didn't show up. He said he was coming. Okay. 1955, Ed Camp's here. Ken Kunkel was going to come, but the weather up where he's at was pretty bad. Just so you know, I'm not going to name everybody, okay? So don't get offended. I'm going to go down to about 62, 63. All the rest of those guys are. Well, Klein, you're out. Damn. 1956, I got Speed Miller. Pardon? Where's he at? He's over here? I thought he was over here. Okay. And I got Butch Race's wife, Ellen, you here? Way out, Ellen. And his son, Butch Race's semi-state finalist right there. There you go.
1951, John Hobbick.
Oh, that's right, John is the bad list. You may be late. John Hobbick, 51, where you at? Yeah. Somebody stole it.
Excuses.
I know. Now you sound like Schulteis. He say it all the time. You know, we don't need wherever coming down here throwing up 20-footers in a family. Trying to get the ball in the Langers and Nicholson, and we're like, Kevin's going. Go right in. Absolutely. 1957, the J-Boys. I got Jerry Bird, Jim Eckerly, and John Huffman are here. 1958,
I got Rich Burner, Ed Marks, are you here?
Yes, not here.
Ed didn't make it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody else from 58? There you go. 1961. Long John, you here? Long John Schmidt. I don't know why I called him Long John. I won't even go into that. We used to call Tommy Long Tom. No, we don't.
Got Bob Crawler.
Of course, what an oversight by me. Holy crap. 1961. Two of the remaining Bobcats. Bob Crawline, right there. 1962. I got Steve Hydorn, Bob Evilhair, and Dale Mattingly. 76 participants, if I'm correct on it. You're not the last two teams to do that, because 72 and 73 did it. I believe that's about it. Okay. Okay, I'll go down to 65, then we're going to cut it off. 1963, Jim Clyde, and he wanted to be introduced.
I played at it.
His dad had a better average than he did. That's all I got.
Get the book out.
Okay, 19, where we at? 64, Ray Spike Partner, where you at? My old neighbor. Spike, you still here? Did Spike leave? Cable. Spike leave? Oh, you have to go to the bathroom. What a bad thing. Anyway, that's just some of the greats that we have here tonight, and give them all a round of applause, because that's fantastic. I got one more speaker, just so you know what's coming, so if you want to get a beer now, it'll be a good time to do it. I got one more speaker, and then I got a little slideshow. Nothing important, it's something I want to put together. I'm not singing it. Okay. Jerry Bird touched on playing in Cabby, and then going over to Huntingburg, play that section. I've always told people who are willing to listen to me that I probably played in one of the greatest eras of being a Jasper Wildcat ever. We played in sold-out stadiums. I would have Deefy, remember Deefy? Tell me how bad I stunk. He'd point at me and go, and then, yeah, do that. Two-handed thing. I got to play with Jim Winzo and Wayne Bailey and Terry Fleck and Kevin Maley and Al Stang and Tommy and Mike Leager. Blessed, 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 blessed. I used to run out on that floor. I remember the first time I got to be introduced. I thought I was going to piss out my leg. I'm serious. I mean, it was a thrill. This was what you dream about. You dream about playing for the black and gold of the Jasper Wildcats. It was still is special to me. It holds a dear. And then go to that Huntingburg gym. I'm going to tell you one quick story about Huntingburg gym. I'm 8 years old. It's 19, whatever that would be, 62, 63. Never been to a sexual game in my life. Because nobody get tickets back then. Nobody. Hey, couldn't get tickets. So, West comes home. Ireland's playing Springs Valley. Final game of section. Saturday night, 6 o'clock. Boys, want to go to the game? And I went, well, that's what you did. Back in the day, you went to the game, whether your team was in it or not. So I said, well, yeah, let's go to the game. So me and my brother get in the car. We parked down there by the railroad tracks. You know, down there, take the alleyway up. You remember that old alley there by the old bar? And we get about 10 feet from the door. He turns to me, and he goes, Flip, I got 2 tickets. And my father, if you don't know my father, he's about, yeah, he's 5'8", about your size. About 5'6". And he always wore this tan raincoat. Okay? So he goes,
When we get to the door, it's like they slide on my radio. Well, just walk with me. And I'll bull crap this guy over here, and you just walk in with me. Man, where do you think? Sure enough, hey, how you doing? You know, I'm underneath there. We walked into the gym, and my dad never sat down. He always stood up at the top of, like always did. And so me and my brother were sitting there, and that whole game, I'm like, the cops are going to come get me. I stuck in this game. Well, it just so happened, that's when I was beat Springs Valley, that big upset, 20-19, 21-20. I was hooked ever since. Let's just put it that way, because it was a magical place to play basketball. And it was just terrific. Oh, enough about that. But anyway, my next speaker, the man has been great to me. If a village builds a child, or whatever they say, what does she say? Something like that. This man helped a lot in my development. So Adrian, I'm sorry, you got to talk to him. He had a lot to do with this. But anyway, 5 straight sectional wins, 5 of them, count them. 2 regionals, and a great guy, Mr. Ed Schulteis.
Yeah!
I'll tell you one thing. This is tough act to follow. Especially this guy. But I'm not going to stand up there like Jerry did for 25 minutes. Laryngitis. But I do want to compliment Jasper, the city of Jasper. I came here, a young guy, always wanted to be in a basketball community. They said, well, what do you want to go to Jasper for? I said, they play basketball in Jasper. Left Monterey Day High School, good team. I think that's why Cabby called me. He thought, well, he must be able to do something. Worked with Barney Scott for 3 years, and then a couple other coaches, and gave me the opportunity. Bill Beecher, president of the board at one time in there, so I have to compliment him for giving me the opportunity. But overall, I just thought Jasper was the place to raise a good family. Had 9 children. They've all turned out well. Our athletic programs all turned out well through those days. I want to tell one story. I won't tell any on the mayor back there. He owes a couple tickets, But I had a guy to drive up from Mount Vernon, Indiana, when I was athletic director. And he said, could I spend a few minutes with you? I said, come on in the office. He sat down and he said, I want to ask you a question. How does Jasper do it every year? I said, what do you mean? He says, you guys are in every sport, competitive, winning in most of them. And Mount Vernon sits down there and we can't win anything. I said, there was 3 things. Family, background. They work hard, family backs them. The kids we coach are gentlemen in most cases, in spite of saying about, Jerry saying about a few of these guys. Nick, you're okay. Jeff Bobble, you're okay. Anyway, I told him 3 things. It was family, they worked hard, and they cared, and they backed us. And that's all it was, hard work. Good community, packed teams, packed the gyms every night, packed the football stadiums, packed the baseball field in most cases, particularly in latter years. But one story I want to tell, and then I'm going to sit down here. I won't get into wins on a few of those. But Jeff Bobble, we're going into that particular night, and many of you were there, triple overtime. And we got a timeout, and we got to tie this game up just on the foul line. We're all, far away. I said, Jeff's got 2 foul shots. He's going to make both up. I never hesitated. I said, he's going to make both up. And after that, we're going to bait the throw in from Forest Park, and everything went perfect. My coaching was great then. We went a triple overtime, but Jeff Bobble told me after the game, he said, Coach, you know, I never hit 2 foul shots in my life in a row. You know, there's many things that takes place when you're coaching, community's backing you. And sure, we knew we were getting criticized when we lost. We got praised when we won. As you can see some of the old Wildcat signs back there. But there's no place like Jasper to coach basketball. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. And there is no place like Jasper. German beer, Catholic. Thank God my wife's a Catholic, though. She would have divorced me a long time. What we got here? Give me about 3 minutes. I'm going to set up a little slideshow here. It's kind of food for thought, or whatever you want to call it. So give me about 3 minutes. We need to get a beer, what have you. It's only be about 5 or 7 minute little presentation, and then, you know, the night is yours. Please stay around.